If you're thinking of getting a smartphone in 2019 which is not too gimmicky or flashy and has some decent specs with being under £100, then you may want to stick around till the end of this video. Hey, how's it going? Adil here with TechBomb, bringing you another video to the channel. Now, there's been so many different smartphone releases in the past, and some amazing specs have come out with some amazing price tags of £800 and £1,000 plus. And not everyone has access to those kind of phones. Not everyone can afford those kind of phones, which is why so much attention is given towards them phone and not much attention given to budget end smartphones, which I'm going to be taking a look at today. The Smart N9 by Vodafone. It's a budget handset under £100. Let's see what it gives you for your £100 or less. So on the front of this handset you have a 1440 by 720 IPS display, which has a nice brightness to it and has some decently accurate colors, but it's not a very vibrant and punchy image display how I kind of like it, but you know, it'll do the job. Also to mention, it's not a full HD display, so even though it is HD, it is not super crisp like the latest and greatest phones out there. Now, unless you're actually doing some pixel peeping and really zoom in to see those pixels, then you're not going to really notice much of a difference on a screen which is this size of 5.5 inches. And at the front you also get the in-call speaker along with the sensors, a 8 megapixel front-facing camera and a front LED flashlight, which we'll get into some of those specs and how the camera performs a little later in the video. The Smart N9 comes in around 8.7mm in width, which makes it not a very thick, neither a very slim smartphone. It kind of lands in between, and it weighs in around 145 grams, which makes this a super light smartphone. Although the phone is quite rugged and it may save you from an impact here and there, it is still quite prone to scratches, especially on the rear where you have that reflective back panel which is made of plastic and isn't very, you know, nice looking. I mean, it's quite nice that it's reflective, but you can tell it's plastic and it's definitely drawn some scratches on there just with general use, having keys in my pocket and putting the phone on with some money and etc coins. So definitely worth getting a case for this if you decide to pick this up. While we're talking about the rear of the handset, you also get a fingerprint scanner, which is fantastic to have under £100, and it kind of fits in an ideal position, in a natural position, so where you hold your phone, it just kind of sits right under your index finger. You also get the 16 megapixel camera and an LED flashlight, which we'll talk a little later on in the video on how those perform. Now, this comes with Android 8.1 installed, and it does have quite a few apps and software installed on there, which does take up quite a lot of the 16 gigabytes memory you get from this model, but you can also expand that to 32 gigabytes of SD card storage, which will give you extra storage, which is definitely needed because you probably get left with around 7.5 to 8 gigabytes of storage after the device, software and the apps are installed. Now, just a quick run of the specs. You get the MT6739WA chipset in this with a quad-core CPU. You get 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of internal storage. Like I said before, you can add an additional 32 gigabytes of SD card storage to expand that storage, which you're definitely going to need if you're thinking of picking this up, because the software and the apps installed in there take up over half of the memory that's given to you, so you get left with around 7.58 gigabytes, which is quite ridiculous if I'm honest. So you've definitely got some decent specs in this device, and under £100 really can't complain. You will get some light gameplay done easily with social media, YouTubing, browsing, all those general kind of tasking and light gameplay will definitely be easy to do on this Smart 9. In terms of battery life, you have a 2900 milliamp battery in there, which certainly isn't the largest, neither is the smallest battery, but it will get you nicely throughout the day. I mean, I've used this phone, kind of gone out, and the videos and shots I've taken on my Instagram and Twitter, just kind of scrolling through your comments using this phone for a couple of days, and definitely got me through the day. When I got home, I had around 17% battery left, and I just had to put it on charge overnight, just like I do with any other smartphone I own, like my Samsung Galaxy S8. Now, speakers on this device is something that I probably say struggles the most in terms of performance and quality. You don't get very high quality speakers. The speakers are quite decently loud, but the lower ends and the mids are kind of gone, and the treble in there, when you turn it full volume, is quite distractingly and annoyingly not nice, you can say. So I definitely wouldn't try and impress some of my mates and say, look, I picked up a phone for under £100 and the sound on this is absolutely rubbish. I'd probably just stick in the headphones or connect with a Bluetooth speaker and get the better sound from a speaker rather than coming from here. And you also have, I don't know why phones still do this in 2018 and 2019, a micro USB port, the old generation model. Everybody needs to get rid of this and come to a USB Type-C. Now let's see some sample pictures and video I've taken with this phone, and then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts on the Smart N9 by Vodafone. So this is the front-facing camera in an underground car park where the lighting is quite crap, and the microphone, you can hear it. I don't know how it sounds, but obviously that's something for me to find out later in post. So this is where you get underground car park with low lighting, quite grainy, but you know, nevertheless it will do the job. So this is the exact same setup I've used recording the video for this, and you can see it's in selfie mode, and the lighting conditions are actually quite decent. I'm lit up by this nice and bright light. It's an LED light, and I put an umbrella in front of it just to kind of soften the light in my face. I keep looking at the screen, it's really annoying. I don't look at the camera, and I was using this to kind of picture myself because it's only a 65 again. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Now this is the front-facing camera outside in open light, microphone test with the surrounding. Let me know what you guys think. £80 from me, £20. So before you go and say how good or bad this phone is, I want you to consider one thing: the price. Being under £100, it's actually not bad at all. Camera quality is decent. You get some great pictures with it if you expose your pictures right, and if you have the right conditions for it. You can get some great pictures out of this and some decent looking video. Now yeah, of course it doesn't have the best dynamic range in there. Actually the dynamic range sucks in this camera, and the camera quality, the clarity and the sharpness is definitely not up there with the big boys. But under £100 it's definitely worth considering. The speakers, however, are probably the weakest point of this smartphone. So if you're looking to pick this up, and if you're always listening to music on your speaker, then probably not the best smartphone to go for. But if you've got Bluetooth speakers around, then just connect with that, or plug in a 3.5mm jack headphone just at the top here, and off on your way, mate. And finally, it's not a massive deal breaker of any sorts, but I would have loved to have a full HD display with some vibrant and punchy colours like I like. But I guess under £100 720p display at this screen size won't make a massive difference. It's actually quite sharp considering it's 720p and not full HD. All the text and everything is definitely quite sharp, so no issues from there. But it's just me being nitpicky and saying that this should have had a full HD display rather than the 720p. Well, that's it from this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and found it somewhat helpful in deciding if you want to pick up this phone or not, or if you want to go for any of the other phones linked down below, then by all means do that also. And that's it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to give it a like and go and bomb that subscribe button. And on that bombshell, I'll see you guys in the next video.